these cops on earth. And these are really unwitting, very often the case, they're unwitting. I mean, even with the police, you hear sometimes they'll ask a medium to help them find so and such. I guess even the police are sometimes aware of some kind of, let's say, what they might call force. And of course, there would be, there are, in fact, gods, the watchers being the ones, even over the police, the powers that be ordained of God. There is no power of God, but over these powers are what you might call watchers. So if you're thinking of committing a crime, bear in mind it's not just the police you've got to watch out for, it's God's watchers. God's watchers are watching. They can pass through walls and watch what's going on in there, and they would know what's going on. It only has to be a word in the ear of the good police officer, and the police car would soon turn up to arrest you. It should. Your sins be running so rampant that God has finally decided to bring out the watchers, in fact, are the ones who bring down the axe upon the tree. So these watchers have power to even execute judgment. They are like God's cops that are sent to arrest the criminal, and of course then the criminal is judged for his sins. He might find himself in prison. Now, there are all kinds of prisons on this earth. You might think, oh, a prison locked up in a cell, etc. But there are actually prisons of the mind in that you can be sent what's called a strong delusion. Now, a strong delusion is dangerous because you can't predict how long you're going to be in that prison, captive to your this strong delusion. The strong delusion is that you would believe a lie. Now, if you believe a lie, then you are clearly insane. Because it's like there's the bullseye. Insane people are simply illogical people in that they don't quite shoot the ball, let's say. Typically the goal is over there. Why are you shooting the ball into the sideline when you should be shooting, kicking the ball towards the goal? And so such a person would be under a strong delusion. So that actually is another one of the prisons that a person can find themselves in. People fear being locked up in a cell, but how would you like to go under a strong delusion? Well, my words, of course, so saying, but let's go into the watchers and how they operate. They might not always be called watchers, but clearly if there's an angel that is watching over the affairs of man, or if not men, or if not one man, if not a few men, have no illusions. These watchers don't just operate at the top. They can operate from the top to bottom. They could be watching over you. So let's go with Nebuchadnezzar. And we haven't got long because people haven't got long. It's already 30 minutes in. Let's go with Nebuchadnezzar. He's given an account of, it's kind of like his testimony really, of how these watchers, let's say, intervened with him. Nebuchadnezzar the king, so in chapter 4, Daniel. Unto all the people, nations, languages that dwell in all the earth. So this is his account of what happened to him regarding these watchers. And this was all made manifest in largely in a dream. So peace be multiplied, he says, unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God have wrought toward me. So this is what happened to him. His, let's say, dealings with the watchers. God's cops watching over the affairs of man. God's cops watching over this king. And God's cops even given the power to execute judgment. But first they give a warning. So they're kind of said to keep things under wraps, otherwise sin would run rampant. So how it goes on, how great are the signs and how mighty are the wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom and his dominion is from generation to generation. So he's going to, This is his testimony. So he's writing to all languages and peoples and king unto all the nations. So he's hoping that all the nations are there. This is the king, a very powerful king, the king of Babylon, a great world empire. So I, Nebuchadnezzar, verse 4, was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. Well, he's flourishing, but there's sin here, as is usually the case with these kings. They get so big and powerful. So let's imagine even a king should hear this tiny little YouTube or what's going to go into BitChute as well as YouTube. Well, should you be in a position of authority and power, then Nebuchadnezzar here is talking to both you and me. So I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. I saw in a dream which made me afraid. Now he's afraid because I guess the mood of the dream is coming to him as a warning. And the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. So you'd say here, the mood of the dream was really, in his case, quite made him feel insecure, let's say. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. But of course none could, but there was one who could, and this was Daniel. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing. So, so verse 10, let's say, thus, this is the dream. So God has sent him a dream. This is all coming in via the watchers. So the watchers here, you would say, appear to be able to appear in people's dreams. So you go to sleep at night, and who should show up? These angels actually often show up while people are asleep. I guess while people are asleep, they can have your full attention. And that is perhaps, let's say, one reason why they appear in a dream. Because clearly when your head is upon the pillow and the room is silent, they have your full attention. And so they simply jump into your mind and explain all this via a dream, which is called a vision. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, then he God, right, openeth the ears of man and sealeth his instruction. Wow. Nebuchadnezzar's instructions were sealed here via a dream. And of course, this dream was a bit of a mystery to him. So he needed Daniel. He asked all of his own magicians and seers and what have you to interpret the dream to him. But none could but Daniel. And of course, Daniel's operating under the one true God. And this dream, of course, comes from God. Therefore, this dream could only be interpreted via a man of God. So clearly in Nebuchadnezzar's mind, the dream had come from the one true God, seeing that the only one who could interpret the dream to him was indeed a prophet of God who understood dreams, who could indeed interpret dreams, who indeed had God's ear and God's mouth, and God would reveal to him what this was all about. Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed, verse 10 of chapter 4, in my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all the beasts of the field. For all the beasts of the field had shadow under it. And the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all the flesh fed of it. So it's kind of symbolic of Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom, and it's not just a small kingdom. You're looking at a world empire. Therefore you can see the symbolism of the dream, that this great big tree. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher. Now here's the watcher.